So how is CSRD different to other existing frameworks and standards, and how is it aligned to them as well?
That's a good question. I mean, I think anyone who's involved in this space appreciates that there's it's a really contested field. It's a really busy, congested field right now with lots of different standards, lots of different approaches to solving this largely problem of providing markets, stakeholders, business partners, civil society, policymakers, government agency with reliable, relevant, and comparable kind of social, environmental, economic, and governance kind of like data to allow them to make better decisions. So there's a range of different standard setters with that same sort of goal, which are actually trying to do that. Now, the other goals are the other standard setters are slightly different. So if we look at the IFRS, ISSB standard and some like SASB, they're very much kind of driven by providing data for investors and looking at what we call kind of financial materiality, or almost like quite short-term impact on the financial performance of the business. The CSRD is actually kind of like stepping back from that and is actually looking at what it uses a sustainable materiality assessment, often referred to as double materiality, where you look at the financial. Of course, we need to look at the impact of these things on the kind of the financial performance of a business, but it also looks at the impact that the business has on different social and economic and environmental systems as well. So it looks at that kind of like that external impact, and also looks at the impact that the changes in these kind of like unsustainability, if we carry on the same trajectory, will have on the future of the business. It really sort of like, and that's similar to the Global Reporting Initiative, which kind of again adopts a kind of a double materiality kind of impact in terms of, and it recognizes that the value creating potential of a business is not disconnected from social and ecological systems, but rather that those social ecological systems can act as a constraint on the business to be able to do it, either by, we run out of electricity, we run out of kind of like different types of metals, we run out of different foodstuffs, we run out of water to actually to do. We run out of trained, educated employees to do the job that we actually require. So it looks at the kind of impact of there and that kind of mutual benefit of there, and also looks at the kind of like the impact that it actually has on these different businesses. And that double materiality is kind of embedded within the CSRD, which again makes it sort of slightly kind of different. And also this idea that it kind of asks the business to consider its impact, not just on its own operations, but on what's kind of referred to as its whole value chain. So the impact across the whole value chain, those people who are providing kind of resources to the business and who they provide they provide products or services or utilities to. And so that kind of slightly wider focus on the value chain again differentiates it from some of the ones which are really focused on there. Because one of the kind of the claimed users is, and it's often missed in so many other standards, is your business partners, the businesses, your suppliers, your kind of like customers, if you're kind of business to business. So it looks at the kind of like your whole value chain and those different people. So the information you're asked to, as part of the process, to assess the sustainability of your business model across the value chain, which again is very different in terms of there. And actually, if you look at the global impact of value chain of procurement, it's massive. That's really the real big kind of churn of activity. The amount of kind of like value creation comes in there. It's not just from the irregular financing of kind of like businesses, but actually this big, huge economic engine of procurement and sale at a transactional level, which is there. So it's got that slightly different sort of like focus there. There's a couple of differences. One is that it's going to be regulated. This is going to be non-optional for a whole bunch of kind of businesses. Virtually all of the other standards are voluntary. Now, there's different levels of voluntary. You know, sometimes they may be a standard is then adopted by a government, say, you will comply, you know, to produce good quality reports, we would ask that you comply with a particular standard. But those standards need to be enacted into there. And unless they're enacted, they're voluntary. And often they don't, you know, they're kind of like, they don't necessarily carry sort of like any sanctions or anything for non-compliance. That's normally determined by laws within particular countries. But that's a significant change. It's like if you qualify, it's non-optional, and it needs to be moved towards reasonable assurance, which again differentiates it from all of the other standards that are actually there. It's going to become a requirement. The other thing is it's going to include things like intangible assets and intangible parts of the kind of like the business as well. And, you know, that's different sort of capitals, which is similar to the integrated reporting and maybe the kind of like, you know, the sort of like the new kind of combination between, you know, integrated reporting and SASB. So that you've got that focus there, and that focus on business model, which again ties in with the origins and with integrated reporting kind of council. You know, they had that kind of field there. So it kind of draws on I almost like the best bits of standards and actually there. And to be honest, if you comply with the CSRD, you're going to comply with all of the other standards, the way it's framed right now. It's not going to be worked the other way. If you comply with the current ISSB recommendations, you're not going to comply with the CSRD. If you comply with something like the GRI, you're going to be closer to the CSRD, but there's elements in there that need to be adopted. Yeah, if you're looking at how things are planning just now, if you comply with the CSRD as it's envisaged, you will also then be GRI compliant. Because the other thing is that they're like the GRI, they're developing sector standards as well, which does there. Another nice thing, certainly from sustainable fintech, is that the whole focus is that this is part of within the CSRD is part of the digitalization and reporting data type initiatives that the EU and other things are there, and that the data is going to be kind of reported in a particular format. If anyone's interested, it's XHTML kind of like format, but also there's going to be a digital portal where you can actually upload your kind of reporting data, which then means it's open and transparent to others. That's not the case with the other standards as well. So there's going to be a data portal where you kind of upload the data. That's good, and that can be bad because you need to get your data in a good digital format. It needs to be structured. You need to really think about this and how it then is enabled to actually do that. Arguably, it's very difficult to do that for an individual company to do that on their own. That's why there's a kind of there's often a need for collaboration and engaging with sustainable fintech experts who actually kind of have a history and experience in doing this exercise. It's like there's many kind of solutions out there. I think one thing I'd mention to this is don't think you have to start this from scratch. There's many organizations who've actually been trying to do that. And certainly kind of like the work of University of Birmingham, Worldwide Generation and G17 Eco is a really good example of how you took something which many people a few years ago thought was like impossible to structure or to do, and actually with careful kind of consideration, intelligent design, best use of digital technology, have actually come up with a workable solution that actually is in place and trying to solve these problems. My advice, don't try and solve all the problem yourself. Look at what's out there. Look at people who are experts in the field. They can help you. They can save you years of kind of like stress and hair going grey and all sorts of things like that.
That brings us back nicely to the SDGs and partnership for the goals, SDG 17 as well. So that's a great place to finish on. Thank you, Ian, so much. Really appreciate your time and insights, and just sort of, I suppose, passion for companies going on a transformation process with the sustainability and the sustainability reporting, not just being reporting, but actually having a huge benefit to people on the planet, basically, at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I mean, the key thing is not to think of this as data. This is about making a difference. This is about changing the kind of like the planet, social systems, ecological systems, kind of for future generations and other kind of species on which we cohabit on the planet. If we mustn't think of this as data and compliance. This is about making a difference, a positive difference and a positive impact in every way that is possible to do.